Hello and welcome to Crooked House Gaming. Here at Crooked House Gaming, we like to explore the gameplay of simulation games, usually through a series of Let's Plays. In this episode, we will explore the gameplay of Democracy 4. Democracy 4 is a political sim that lets you choose the role of a world leader and govern a country. If this sounds like something that you'd be interested in, be sure to hit that like button. And if you're new here, welcome, and be sure to hit that subscribe button so you won't miss any future episodes. We are presently playing as the President of South Korea. When I hit that button, we will be entering our first term of our fourth year as President of South Korea. Let's see how we did. The GDP is down. Education is down. A storm destroys the railway. A key stretch of railway has been destroyed by a fierce storm. Environmental defenses were insufficient to protect our core infrastructure, highlighting embarrassing underinvestment by our government and lack of oversight. Commuters are down at negative 22%. Private space industry is growing noticeably in our country. Situation imminent. Our data is showing that we have a potentially bad situation. Media monopoly on our hands if we do not act soon. Budget report. There is a budget deficit of 16.10 trillion won. We need to reduce spending or raise taxes. Polls report. Polls do not look good. Our last poll put us at 19% of the vote in an election. Election report. Our party, the Modern Family Party, is getting more popular. In the last quarter, we added 460,989 new members and 81,351 new activists. Economic forecast. Good news, the global economy is doing well and this is having a positive effect on our GDP. We have 11 political capital to spend. We have 2 cabinet ministers who are unhappy with us and it would cost 0 political capital to fire them. Let's look at the potential ministers for the welfare minister. We want somebody who aligns with the Modern Family Party. We have someone that is aligned with the parents. Let us fire our welfare minister. We are going to hire Hang Sung-jin. He is with the socialists and the parents. He will bring 2.1 political capital to our government. Let us fire our foreign policy minister. She is very unhappy. We're gonna hire Jin Mig-young for foreign policy. Our tax minister is now unhappy. Let's fire that tax minister. Let us hire Jeon Eng-ju for tax minister. We have 11 political capital to spend. Parents, the extent to which voters consider themselves primary parents will depend on how many children they have, how young they are. Those with large young families will be extremely sensitive to issues as childcare provision or affordability and the cost and quality of education provision. School safety and transport to school are also big issues. The percent of the population who are parents is 47.35%. They are generally supportive of our government. Speed cameras. Speed cameras are an automated way to enforce speed restriction on our roads without having to invest a fortune in extra traffic police. Supporters claim they reduce road deaths and free up police to deal with more serious crime. Opponents claim they are a cynical way of taxing motorists and have nothing to do with safety. Presently, our speed cameras are outside of schools. This is 21% popular with the vote. We will invest 3 political capital to increase our speed cameras to residential areas. We will apply the changes. We have 8 political capital to spend. Tobacco tax. Despite the failure of tobacco companies to admit it, there is a good reason to believe that smoking has negative effects on health. This is used as a justification for taxing tobacco. Cynics point out that the government benefits hugely from a tax on a product it is supposedly against. Health campaigners encourage the tax as a way to encourage a more healthy population. This is 0% popular with the vote. Presently, our tobacco tax is 22%. We are going to spend 8 political capital to increase our tobacco tax to 30%. Income generated by this will be 2.80 trillion won. We will apply the changes. We have 0 political capital to spend and thus we're at the end of our first term of our 4th year as President of South Korea. Let's hit that button. We will now be entering our 2nd term of our 4th year as President of South Korea. Let's see how we did. The GDP is down. Poverty is up. Oil drilling opportunity. There's an urgent policy question that requires your immediate attention. Oil companies are keen to get permission to drill for oil in the part of the country protected as a wildlife refuge. The oil supply under the refuge is considerable, but drilling would have a negative impact on the environment. Allow drilling. There are literally billions of barrels of oil right here on our soil, and the current law is preventing us from drilling for it. Instead, we are importing oil from other countries. The environmental impact will be minimal when you consider the gains that drilling makes in terms of energy security. Nobody wants to spoil the environment environment, but the alternative is reliance on foreign oil. Prevent drilling. This valuable wildlife refuge would be devastated by oil exploration. This is one of our nation's greatest national treasures, and it would be criminal to wreck it just to boost domestic oil production. Drilling in this part of the country will not entirely remove our dependence on foreign oil, but it will spoil our natural environment for future generations. We are preventing oil because we do not want to spoil our natural environment for future generations, as we are the Modern Family Party. The capitalists are unhappy at -4%. The environmentalists are happy at +6%. Budget report. There is a budget deficit of 22.10 trillion won. We need to reduce spending or raise taxes. Polls report the government is not popular amongst its citizens. Only 3% of them intend to vote for you in the next election. Election report. The Modern Family Party is getting more support in the last quarter. 322,326 new people signed up to be members. Cabinet report. The loyalty of your ministers can best be described as supportive. Their effectiveness is generally considered to be adequate. Economic forecast. Good news. The global economy is doing well, and this is having a positive effect on our GDP. We have 10 political capital to spend. We are the Modern Family Party, and Modern Family Party is not only focused on children, it is also focused on the elderly. So let's take a look at social care, a package of policies which provide care directly to those who need it from the state. This includes daycare and residential care home for elderly who can no longer live alone, care for dementia, and support for women's refuge, and for people with mental health difficulties. The popularity with voters is 37%. Right now, we have minimum social care. We are going to invest to political capital to increase this to low. We will apply the changes. We have 8 political capital to spend. Corporation tax, a direct and proportionate tax on the profits of business. Some argue that this should be the only form of taxation. Others that such taxes stifle entrepreneurship and discourage people from starting a business. It is often one of the main ways the government brings in money. This is 19% popular with the vote. We are going to spend 3 political capital to lower our corporation tax. This will help to reduce our uncompetitive economy. We will apply the changes. We have 5 political capital to spend. Property tax. Property tax is a tax levied on the value of homes. The value is often made by a government body, and the money is used to fund local government services, at least in part, as the provision of street lighting and emergency services. Some see it as a fair tax, which mostly affects those who own large homes and are wealthy. Others see it as an unfair tax on retired people with large homes but little actual income. This is 2% popular with the vote. Presently, our property tax is 24%. We will spend 3 political capital to lower this to 17%. We will apply the changes. We have 2 political capital to spend. The GDP, the gross domestic product of your country. This is defined as the total market value of all goods and services produced within the nation in a year. This is a good general purpose measure of the strength of your economy and the nation's overall wealth. One of the contributing factors is the global economic cycle, which tends to be cyclical and is beyond your control. Presently, we have an uncompetitive economy. Uncompetitive economy, our workers' lack of relative productivity and competitiveness is causing our exports to fall and flooding our country with cheap imports made overseas with lower wages, harder working, and more technological savvy employees. This is having a negative effect on our economy as our local companies cannot compete globally. Payroll tax, a tax levied on employers in proportion to salaries paid to employees. Easy to collect and hard to avoid, but can act as a disincentive to employment. Presently, payroll tax is encouraging uncompetitive economy and the gig economy. We will spend 2 political capital to lower our payroll tax. We will apply the changes. We have 0 political capital to spend, and thus we're at the end of our 2nd term of our 4th year as the president of South Korea. Let's hit that button. We will now be entering our 3rd term of our 4th year as president of South Korea. Let's see how we did. The GDP is down, health is up, increased school inspections. There is an urgent policy question that requires your immediate attention. There are concerns that school standards are slipping, and the current regime for examining teaching methods and schools is not sufficient. Campaigners suggest a toughening up on the system with much more frequent inspections. Increased inspections. Education is a service like any other. It's essential that parents know what they are getting for their money or taxes. Decent teachers should have nothing to fear from extra scrutiny. But parent would oppose greater checks on the way in which their children are being educated. Keep current system. Teaching children is difficult enough as it is, as well as being poorly paid and undertaken by dedicated professionals. This proposal would simply heap extra bureaucracy and take more time away from actual teaching. It is insulting to suggest that dedicated public service workers like teachers need further scrutiny. We're keeping the current system. The parents are unhappy at -3%. State employees are happy at +5%. Budget report: the government is currently running a budget deficit of 36.66 trillion won. We should take steps to reduce this. Polls report: polls do not look good. Our last poll put us at 3% of the vote in an election. Cabinet report: the loyalty of your ministers can best be described as supportive. Their effectiveness is generally considered to be adequate. We have 10 political capital to spend. Science funding: in some countries, the majority of research is funded by private companies. State-sponsored science can be useful for investing in very long-term research projects, or those that may not be commercially rewarding. The benefits of state sector research are freely available to the entire population rather than patented by corporations. This is 100% popular with the vote. This will increase our GDP. This will lower unemployment. Right now, we are investing in electron microscopes. We will invest 2 political capital. To increase our investment in electron microscopes, we will apply the changes. We have 8 political capital to spend. Driverless car laws. Driverless car technology is booming. The manufacturers are encouraging the government to allow their use on public roads. This is 100% popular with the vote. This will increase our technology. Presently, our driverless car law is on separate lanes. We will invest 6 political capital to increase this. We will apply the changes. We have 2 political capital to spend. Diverted profits tax, a tax levied on investments regarding large company profits earned in this country, regardless of their actual reporting. This is used to prevent multinational companies from claiming that all of the profits they earn are somehow only generated in a tax haven with little or no corporate taxes by using cunning accounting trickery. The tax is mostly designed as an incentive to push such companies to play by the spirit as well as the letter of the law. This is 19% popular with the vote. Presently, our diverted profits tax is medium. We will invest 1 political capital to increase this to high. We will apply the changes. We have 1 political capital to spend. National Business Council. The establishment of a National Business Council gives a strong voice to business interests and ensures that the needs of businesses, both big and small, are taken into account. The council serves as a way to promote capitalism and entrepreneurship and get across the message that the corporate world has much to offer, creates employment and prosperity. This is 100% popular with the vote. This will stimulate our GDP. We will spend 1 political capital to increase this too high. We will apply the changes. We have 0 political capital to spend, and thus we are at the end of our 3rd term of our 4th year as president of South Korea. Let's hit that button. We will now be entering the 4th term of our 4th year as president of South Korea. Let's see how we did. The GDP is down. National team wins World Cup. The national football team has won the World Cup, delighting fans across the country. It may not lead to any long-term tangible benefits, but a wave of goodwill in our people is most welcome. Everyone is happy at +20%. The Patriots are happy at +12%. Pollution. Environmental experts tell us that our country's pollution problem is now under control. Our citizens no longer need to wear face masks when cycling to work. Situation imminent. Our data is showing that we have a potentially bad situation, media monopoly on our hands if we do not act soon. Budget report. Our government is currently running a budget deficit of 40.70 trillion won. We should take steps to reduce this. Polls report: the government is not popular amongst its citizens. Only 4% of them intend to vote for you in the next election. Cabinet report: the loyalty of your ministers can best be described as supportive. Their effectiveness is generally considered to be adequate. Security briefing: the Environmental Alliance have warned that it is the duty of its members to fight against government policy at all levels. The threat assessment of the Environmental Alliance is a 6. Our security effectiveness is effective. We have 10 political capital to spend. CCTV cameras. CCTV cameras can be a great help in catching criminals, and cameras also deter crime. The installation costs are extremely high, and there are concerns about civil rights from people who don't like to feel that the government is constantly watching them. This is 60% popular with the vote. This will lower our crime and violent crime. Presently, our CCTV cameras are widespread. We will invest 3 political capital to put CCTV cameras on every street corner. We will apply the changes. Luxury good tax, a tax aimed specifically at high spenders in our society. A surcharge is added to high high-value luxuries such as sports cars, private yachts, etc. Although it is never a vast source of income, a luxury good tax can be popular with those people concerned with the wealth gap between rich and poor. A luxury goods tax could encourage higher earners to live and work elsewhere. This is 20% popular with the votes. Presently, our luxury goods tax is 4%. We will spend 2 political capital to increase our luxury good tax to 12%. The income generated will be 92.86 billion won. We will apply the changes. We have 5 political capital to spend. Press freedom. The freedom of the press is the freedom of communication and expression through electronic and published media. It is closely linked to freedom of speech, which is the fundamental human right to communicate opinions and ideas uncensored. Curtailing press freedom negatively impacts democracy, but affords the censor control over access to information. This is 100% popular with the vote. Presently, our press freedom is high. We will invest 3 political capital to increase this. We will apply the changes. We have 2 political capital to spend. Diverted profits tax, a tax levied on estimates regarding large company profits earned in this country regardless of their actual reporting. This is used to prevent multinational companies from claiming that all of the profits they earn are somehow only generated in a tax haven with little or no corporate taxes by using cunning accounting trickery. The tax is mostly designed as an incentive to push such companies to play by the spirit as well as the letter of the law. This is 20% popular with the vote. Presently, our diverted profits tax is high. We will invest 1 political capital to increase this. We will apply the changes. We have 1 political capital to spend. Needle exchange program. Drug addiction itself is bad enough already, and dirty or infected needles are an additional danger for drug addicts. To help out, the needle exchange program will help addicts get clean needles for their needs, while also offering them help in getting clean and living a normal life again. Conservatives may think of this as enabling, but liberals see this as a good way to fight drug abuse in the long run. This is 39% popular with the vote. We will invest our last political capital to lower this. We will apply the changes. We have 0 political capital to spend, and thus we're at the end of our 4th term of our 4th year as president of South Korea, and thus we are at the end of this episode. Thank you so much for stopping by our Crooked House. If you like what you saw, be sure to give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button if you want to follow our future episodes. It really helps us out. Have a great week. See you soon.